Welcome to Pickin Winners, Week 10 edition. I'm your host, Tony. That is Nate. We've got picks for all of the matchups on the week, and as always, a best bet plan for today's episode. Before we get started, though, Nate, how we doing?
I just lost my first game of the week with the Carolina Panthers. I picked them to beat the Bears. It's doesn't feel good, but it can't feel good picking the Bears either.
Oh, my God, no.
My whole thing was Tyson Bagent throwing picks left and right. That's all he does. He makes really bad decisions, and this week he did really well of handing the ball off and then off the play action, not making any mistakes. Not something that you'd expect. Carolina's offense is dormant. The fact that they can't run the ball, they can't pass the ball anywhere, past 5-6 yards down the field really hurts. There's open shots that are, you go back and watch the tape, there's dudes running past safeties. There's dudes crossing over the middle of the zones at 15, 20 yards deep and stuff like that are wide open. And the guy just can't see it because there's pressure in his face and he's small. So it's not like he can look over. So interesting to see what they do going forward with maybe adding some linemen to that team in the draft. It's not like they have a top pick in the draft that they could trade back and get some picks or anything like that with their pick of Bryce Young. But, we'll see what it is. This week looks interesting to me, Tony. There's a lot of these teams that I feel are on upset alert, and a lot of the big favorites that have a really big chance to lose, +6 or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see where our picks end up going and how we end up faring out this week.
Yeah, we're on opposing ends of quite a few matchups once again this week. All right, for week 9, here's how we did. I was 11-3. Very good week. I was up 6.5 units. My best week of the season. So pats on my back. For the best bet, I had New Orleans and Cleveland with a 6-point teaser. That won. Nate, you were 8-6 on the week, and you were, the record's not great, but you were up 1.6 units. So you'll take that. And your best bet, Cincinnati minus 1.5, also won. So well done there. I think you're 6-3 on the season for best bet. So good job, man.
Thanks.
Any commentary there?
Yeah, don't pick the Jets to win a football game. That's not a proper way to win money here in the NFL. Picking them Monday night. They had those dudes by the balls. Los Angeles can't throw the ball down the field with Justin Herbert's finger being busted and stuff like that too. There's a lot made of their defense. They're not going up against anybody on that offensive line. Zach Wilson does miss some throws and stuff like that, but I think he's waiting too long to get rid of the ball. And there's things that he can do a lot better as well. I think it hurts the team's psyche too when he sails the ball. That's like, God damn, man. That's like, just throw it to the sideline. The guy's wide open and it goes 5 feet over his head. Another one, picking Dallas. I think Dallas was the better team on the field that day against Philadelphia. I think they should have won that game. A lot of promise out of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm starting to like Dak Prescott as a quarterback going forward. I think the story of that is fun to root for as well. I hate that he's on the Cowboys, but the guy gets shit on so much, and it's because you're the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. It's the same concept of being the quarterback for Notre Dame or anything like that too. So played his ass off. The dude's got heart. I like seeing that. For some reason, his eyes get really big. But, one step gets you in field goal range. Your field goal, you're tying it up near the end. They're, a couple inches close to the goal line. You're over, and you're probably winning that ball game because Philadelphia, while 8-1, they are probably one of the worst 8-1 teams that's played football in a very long time. They're not as strong as what their record is, and I think they can be caught in the NFC. Another one that kept me afloat was the Washington over New England pick. So glad I went there, but picking Miami and Tennessee and all this kind of stuff where it's like taking some shots, taking some chances on some guts and some preseason notions that I have for some teams, and it just didn't work out. So it is what it is.
Yeah, that Dallas-Philly game could have just as easily been the Cowboys winning it. So they'll play one more time this season, and they'll likely get a matchup in the playoffs if they both do what they're supposed to do. So looking forward to those games. Overall,
those props that we had last week that we were talking about, I think like 13-3 or something like that over the week too. So that was a nice thing when you're losing money line bets that you're laying way too much for as well. So
yeah. I didn't parlay them all together, but I did hit a couple of them. So thank you for posting those in the group chat. But phenomenal week for us overall. If you're watching on YouTube, check out the graphics for season-long totals. And if you are not watching on YouTube, check out the page. Links are down in the description if you're just listening on podcast form. Nate does a lot of work on that side of the house, and it is very, very good quality for what we're producing here. Moving on to the Week 10 picks on bye this week, we've got the Chiefs, the Rams, the Dolphins, and the Eagles. We're also recording this on Thursday after the Thursday night game, as Nate alluded to, so we'll kick things off with the Germany game. This is Indy at New England. The Colts are favored by 1.5. Over-under is at 43. Not doing the injury report this week for these games. I might speak to some of them since we are recording this a day earlier. So what do you got, Nate?
I'm picking New England to win this game. I think that New England is the better overall team. I don't think they're as bad as what their record is. They're probably one of the worst teams in the NFL. But Indianapolis is also terrible. And Indianapolis has no corners. And I'm going to continue to pick on corners with the Indianapolis Colts, no matter what team they're going up against. The Colts are an over team. I do like the over 43 in this game as well. They can put up points, but they can't defend anything. I think that Belichick's going to be able to, scheme whatever they have in that offense to get guys over the middle, wide open up against this team, and then take shots up and down the field from the outsides against these corners. Mm-hmm. And you can see a pretty decent game out of Ramondre Stevenson as well, being able to run the ball, punch in, maybe a short goal line type touchdown, catch 5-6 balls potentially in this game as the linebacker sag back to help out the secondary. But I'm going to take New England to win this game in Germany. I don't know. How old is Bill Belichick? He was probably around when Germany was running the world. But, maybe going back to his old stomping grounds or something like that. I'll take New England to beat the Indianapolis Colts. I don't think Gardner Minshew is beating a Bill Belichick coach team, regardless of how bad the Patriots are.
So we were on opposing ends of the Thursday night matchup. We're on opposing ends of this Germany matchup. Patriots defense was respectable prior to Matt Judon and Christian Gonzalez going down. They're middle of the pack in defensive DVOA, but they're letting up 20, 25, 30 points per game. And the other issue to this point has been the offense. New England is 25th in efficiency on offense, and they've gotten over 20 points in just one game so far in 2023. Indy, while they've let up a ton of passing yards, find themselves middle of the pack in offensive and defensive DVOA. It's at a neutral site. New England also lets up a ton of passing yards. They're down key pieces on defense still. I'm putting on my cutoff jean shorts, Nate. I'm throwing the ball over those mountains, and I'm taking the Colts. I'm riding with Gardner Minshew.
All right.
That's another. I didn't feel good about the Thursday night matchup. I don't feel good about this one, though. So very, very little confidence in that one.
Yep.
Moving into the Sunday early game, so Houston at Cincinnati. The Bengals are favored by 6.5. Over-under is at 47, Nate. What are you doing?
Yeah, so every week there's like a team that I feel is the most likely to get upset. This is the one with that. I'm going to take the Houston Texans to go into Cincinnati and win a football game early in the morning. Afternoon over there, I guess you would say maybe noon. I don't know what time the Middle East is in. But this is a classic look-ahead spot for the Cincinnati Bengals. They're down currently right now, down Jamar Chase with a back issue. He had trouble walking and finishing that game against Buffalo. He did practice limited today, but the reports from like his movement and stuff weren't all that great. T. Higgins is likely going to be out this game as well. I think they sit Jamar Chase because they have a Thursday night matchup against Baltimore, who's leading the division, is the best team in the AFC, is the best team in the entire NFL. They are likely going to end up winning a Super Bowl. I think they are the Super Bowl favorite, even though the odds say that they're the fourth favorite to win a ball game when it comes to the Super Bowl, plus 900. Bet that today as well. Cincinnati with a look-ahead game for Baltimore on Thursday Night Football, so short week. I don't think that they're going to try out Chase. That means Tyler Boyd is going to be the number one wide receiver, along with Joe Mixon. I will take C.J. Stroud to go back to Ohio, win a football game against the guy who went to Ohio State, graduated from Ohio State, but he cannot claim Ohio State. And the people who claim him are the people who are still waiting for a national championship at Ohio State, and they're going to get smacked by Michigan here in a couple weeks. I take the Houston Texans to beat the Cincinnati Bengals.
We're just taking a dump all over Ohio today.
Yes.
See how it is. Yeah. Yeah, I saw the injury report, and it was tempting. It was tempting for me. So 3 out of 3, we're on opposing ends of right out of the gate. Bengals stumbled to start the season. Burrow wasn't healthy, getting through the calf strain he suffered preseason. We all know this. They're in a good spot now, though, after about a month and a half, taking down the Seahawks, the 49ers, and the Bills in back-to-back-to-back weeks. I enjoy watching Houston. I think CJ Stroud is an ascending star in the league, and he's going to have that team competing soon. But the Texans' defense is vulnerable, ranking just 17th against the pass and 18th in DVOA on that side of the ball. I've got the Bengals attacking them through the air with Tyler Boyd. Chase, if he goes, he might not play, every snap, but I do believe he'll play and getting their 5th straight win. And you were not muted.
I was not muted. God damn it!
You're good for one of those per show right now.
Yeah.
We've got the average going.
All right.
Next game, New Orleans at Minnesota. The Saints are favored by 2.5 on the road. Over-unders at 41. What you got?
I picked Minnesota earlier in the week. I said that this team is the wrong team. The favorite is wrong. The New Orleans Saints are not good at football. Their defense is good. Their offense stinks. Josh Dobbs. I feel like there's a lot of good vibes, I guess you would say, within the Minnesota locker room when you got a guy like Josh Dobbs. He could have just sailed it and been like, yo, I don't even know anybody here. I don't know the plays. And he went out and won a football game against a pretty decent Atlanta defense, right? Figuring out the plays while in the huddle. Wide receiver saying, hey, I'm running an out, I'm running a slant, I'm running a go, whatever it may be. I kind of like the New Orleans side right now because you got Justin Jefferson that's out. KJ Osborne's probably not going to play in this game. So you're going to have Jordan Addison as your number 1 wide receiver. And like I said, the Saints defense is okay. I'm still going to go with Minnesota to win the game because I think that they shouldn't be a dog in this game. Their defense has been playing a lot better. They showed a lot of blitz and blitz. Like if you look at their whole season, they're a heavy blitz team, but over the last few weeks they've kind of backed off of it, showed it, and they're doing different things to disguise the secondary, which is getting them wins in the NFL. So I will take Minnesota to still win this game at home. The crowd's going to be hype. It's a time when the crowd shouldn't be hype. You just lost Kirk Cousins. But they're a game and a half out of winning the NFC North. And I think they have a legitimate shot to do so, even without KJ Osborne, who I think is a pretty good wide receiver for that team. They'll still have Hawkinson. They'll still have Addison. If you want to look at Madison catching a little bit of balls out of the outfield or out of the backfield, baseball season. I've been looking at baseball cards all day, prepping for the what do you call that? Spring training for baseball season. But yeah, I'll take Minnesota to win a game. They're at home. New Orleans is notorious for coming out of the gate, going down, score a touchdown, 3 straight punts after that, then go get a field goal, 4 straight punts, and then maybe score a touchdown and then get a late score. So I think that Minnesota has all the juju going for them at home. The stadium's going to be rocking. The Vikings win the ball game.
Yeah, getting that skull chant going. I like it. A clap. I'm going to try not to overreact here to Dobbs coming in with no prep time, as you mentioned, to take down Atlanta. That was very dramatic. He played very well. The dude's like an astrophysicist. I don't know. He's got like pictures and getting shout outs from NASA and stuff. It's very cool.
Aerospace engineer.
Same thing, same difference. Falcons, though, they're one of the most disappointing teams in 2023. That's who they took down. So, of course, they let freaking Dobbs and the Vikings beat them down to their 3rd-string quarterback they just signed off the streets. But Brian Flores has that defense. 1 second, I'm getting handed a note here from producer Nate. Let's see. Brian Flores has that defense humming. They're now up to 10th in defensive DVOA. New Orleans has a tough time with competent teams to this point in 2023, and that's probably how I would describe Minnesota with Cousins and definitely now with Dobbs. High football IQ, just a really smart dude. So I'm actually also taking Minnesota, kind of one I flipped on in the last 24 hours. Moving on now to Green Bay. They're going to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Pittsburgh's favored by a field goal at home. Over-under is at 39.8. What you got?
Imagine being a playoff team when you don't even score more than your opponents over the season, and you also don't outgain them over the season as well, too. The offense for Pittsburgh stinks. They keep winning ball games, but in the NFL, you cannot continuously be outgained in yardage and continue to win football games. I don't think that the Green Bay Packers are any good whatsoever. Like before the season, I said they had the potential to be the number 1 overall draft pick. If you recall that, Tony, I got lit up for it. Let's just say that. But I think Green Bay goes into Pittsburgh and wins a game. This Pittsburgh team is beating teams that they shouldn't end up beating, and you're going to lose to teams that they shouldn't lose to. And that's just how it is. Somehow Tomlin will win a couple games in the division, get himself to 9, and keep the record alive and the streak alive. And, congratulations. It's really good. It's hard to win in the NFL, but at some point, maybe you just want to lose some games, which I don't like. I don't like that part of the sports industries and all that kind of stuff, or people talking about they should tank or sell out. I hate that. I hate it in fantasy when people do it in Dynasty. But it's hard to stay middle of the pack, and it's hard to stay middle of the pack for both reasons, right? Good and bad. So I'll take Green Bay to go win a football game because I think Kenny Pickett stinks, and the Green Bay Packers have decent secondary players. So I'll take that with a pick to seal the game.
Okay. So far these matchups, it's either like very, very close, or it's just like between some decent teams, or it's just like very ugly matchups with teams you don't want to pick either side of. And I feel like that's what this matchup is. Yeah. I don't like Green Bay. I don't really like Pittsburgh. They've shown some flashes on offense and defense, but Green Bay, they're about bottom 10 in offensive and defensive DVOA. It's efficiency. They only beat the Rams because Ripien is so bad that the Rams went out the following day, or, within a couple of days, and they signed freaking Carson Wentz, straight out of the ranch or wherever the hell he was at. The NFL put him off to pasture, and they brought him back. So Pittsburgh, I believe, will win this game on the back of their defense, which has carried them, as you kind of mentioned, and they should cover in a game that's likely going to hit the under. Probably not one I'm going to be interested in watching. They'll probably like 1 or 2 highlights, but if you're watching on Red Zone, you're probably not going to see much of this game. Mm-hmm. All right, next matchup, Tennessee at Tampa Bay. In this matchup, Titans are favored on the road by 1 point. Over under is another low one. It's at 38.5, Nate. What you got?
This one I think is going to be sneaky fun and has a lot of like super points. It's only a 38.5 total, but I feel like this is
taking the over. Are we taking the over?
I feel like this is just a game where there could be a ton of points. Like, why not have Baker Mayfield and Will Levis, like 2 of the coolest dudes in the NFL, like from a quarterback standpoint, right? They're, people would probably just crap on them. People crapped on Will Levis for getting to the second round. Baker going team to team, getting ran out of the, Cleveland and stuff like that. Hey, can this game end up 35 to 31 or something like that? Sure. I think it's going to be fun. But I'm going to take Tennessee to win this game. The Tampa Bay defense is good, but there are key spots in the defense where they're getting older, and like Levante David is a middle linebacker for this team. Fantastic. Mm-hmm. Like, I have him in an IDP dynasty team, and he's fantastic. I love it because the dude just racks up double-digit tackles every week. He's all over the field, plays really good, but they're going to run with wide receivers going over the middle. Will Levis is able to sling it. In that game last week against Pittsburgh, he made some really good throws that were right above a linebacker and right in front of the safety, right? And that kind of stuff is dope to see out of a rookie quarterback. He's got super arm talent. He does kind of trust it a little bit too much and makes bad throws, but I don't think Tampa Bay is going to be a team that's going to capitalize on that. They just let up a ton of points to lose a game against the Houston Texans as well. So I will take Tennessee to win a game on the road. I don't like taking road favorites, but I'm going to take Tennessee to win this game. I think they win by over a touchdown. So
got a couple road picks. It's concerning on this week's slate. It's going to be that's going to be what does me in here. I feel like we still need some more data points on Will Levis. We've got like 1.5 games worth or so. He scorched the Falcons 2 weeks ago and played decently against Pittsburgh. You mentioned he made some pretty good throws. I'll agree with you there, but I can't claim to know what we'll get as far as the version of him from 2 weeks ago, last week, or maybe something else. But Tampa Bay has been absolute, as Nate likes to say, dog shit against the pass. They've led up the 28th most passing yards, and they rank just 16th, so middle of the pack in defensive efficiency. They've dropped 4 straight, Tampa Bay has now, and if they're sacrificing extra men in the box to bottle up Derrick Henry, probably, the Titans' biggest weapon, then Levis should have a little bit of extra room in the passing game. I'm taking Tennessee behind, a pretty decent Derrick Henry game on the ground and maybe a few deep shots from Will Levis, to Hopkins. I know Burks is out, so maybe was it Westbrook Akine? Mm-hmm. I'm taking Tennessee, but we're taking Tennessee on the road, Nate. What could possibly go wrong here?
I just got something in from producers, Tony. I got it right here. I don't know if you can read that. It says, if you're looking for something more to see out of Will Levis, check your phone. It's a hammer. Apparently, there's some locker room footage. I got it right here in front of me. We won't share it because we're on the YouTube, and I don't want to end up, getting banned or something like that, even though we do mark that it's not for children. But that dude's got a hammer. So if you're looking for more.
Might have to do some research later. Thank you for that. Thanks, producers.
Google Will Levis hammer.
On private browsing on that one. Yeah, for sure. Next matchup, San Fran at Jacksonville. For this matchup, the 49ers are road favorites. They got a field goal on the road. Over-under is pretty high. It's at 45. What you got?
Deebo Samuel's back. The Niners are winning this ball game. That's it. The Niners have lost 3 in a row. There are lots being made of the defense. The defense has been the defense for half a decade. Like, people who don't watch the 49ers and they just look at box scores and they look at highlight reels of, Nick Bosa making all these sacks and all this kind of stuff. The Niners team is not built to play a balanced game. The Niners defense is made to stop the pass. And the way they stop the pass is by putting up points early and often, right? They go up by 2 scores. You go down, you score pretty quick on that first drive. You got Debo over the middle. You got Kittle going the other way. And then Ayuk going the opposite way with Debo, 15, 17 yards down the field, wide open. Christian McCaffrey coming out of the backfield on the Kittle side, all this kind of stuff that they do schematically, but they can't do it without Deebo Samuel. None of the other guys can garner that attention that he does over the middle, and they're not comfortable going over the middle, and Deebo's solid, and he is. The Niners defense, I think that the Niners can get up here, 10-0, 10-3, force Jacksonville into passing situations, and that is when the Niners defense plays well, because as a secondary and as linebackers, it's really easy to play defense in the NFL when you know what the other team's going to do. So they're allowed to sit back. The linebackers are allowed to sit back. They don't have to worry about the run, the outside stretches and wide zone plays and tosses and all this kind of stuff, because you're not going to end up seeing it because the team's down. And I think that the Niners can get up early on this team. They're going to need to, because the stadium, like Duval County, gets really hyped for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have a quarterback. They have a coach. They have some weapons and all that kind of stuff. Jacksonville's best bet is to come out of this thing like slinging the ball quick and taking shots and trying to take that advantage early. If they try to play it safe, and stay balanced early on, they're going to lose the ball game. And I think that's what they do. They're going to want to run the ball with ETN, and he's going to get stuffed early, and they're going to be in passing situations, and the Niners can take advantage of that. I take the Niners on the road because Deebo Samuel's
like it.
back.
Yeah, that was the first thing I had for my notes. He is back, full participant at practice this week. Dre Greenlaw's been a full participant. There's optimism about Trent Williams, but I'd like to think if Debo's out there, his battery mate, is going to be out there with the boombox and the chain. They're going to have their intro. He's going to suit up. You mentioned 49ers. They've dropped 3 straight, but what I'm looking at is the body of work to this point from both teams. San Fran, despite their injuries, are still the top-ranked offense in terms of efficiency, with Jacksonville coming in middle of the pack at 13th. 49ers have slipped in the defensive category, but with kind of a sputtering offense, it makes sense. Like these last 3 or 4 weeks, you kind of alluded to my point there. So I'm taking San Fran, expecting more of what we saw prior to Debo, Trent Williams, and everyone else and their mom getting injured against the Browns. I also have the 49ers. Next matchup, this is the last one for the Sunday early slate. Cleveland at Baltimore. The Ravens are favored at home by 6.5. Over-unders at 38. What do you got?
This is another team that can lose as well too. I think that Baltimore. I think that Baltimore can lose this game. Cleveland's got a tough defense. Deshaun Watson looked okay in his comeback game last week, but the opponent was also the Arizona Cardinals. Baltimore. I don't know if you listened to or you follow DVOA, so you know Aaron Schatz's work. But Aaron Schatz was on the radio today, and he was talking about, and this is Thursday, he was talking about how, because he put out a little tweet or whatever like that, but he has like, I think it's like the 91 Redskins, and then the 2007 Patriots as the number 1 and 2 overall DVOA teams, right? For eternity back to like 1981. And he's also done that up to this point through 9 weeks in the season. And this Baltimore Ravens team is I think it's the 4th best team ever put on the field for DVOA purposes as that metric. And through the first 9 weeks of the season, they're the 3rd best team that's ever stepped on a football field per DVOA. But with that being said, they also have a Thursday night matchup against Cincinnati, but I don't think that Harbaugh is the guy to have them look ahead, right? You got a tough opponent. It's a home game in the division with the Cleveland Browns. That area of Baltimore, there's 2 things that they love: shootings and the Baltimore Ravens. So trust me, I've lived around the area. There's areas where cops don't go after certain parts of times at night or whatever like that, and it's marked with lights and stuff, so you know not to go down those ways. But when the Ravens are playing and it's an in-division opponent, they don't lose that ball game. The crowd is pumped for it. I take the Ravens to win it. I do not like the pick. I think that Cleveland has an opportunity to win the ball game, but I will take the Ravens to win it because I think they are the best team in the NFL. They should be undefeated. They really should, and it's crazy to think, but the AFC is going to go through Baltimore this year, and it's going to be rough for a lot of people. And I'm going to ask you a question after you go through your spiel and figure out who you pick. I want to ask you a question about this team in an AFC championship game.
All right. The defenses here actually ranked 1-2 in efficiency, so pretty impressive. Getting 2 of the AFC North teams, ranking 1-2. That's probably very rare. The Browns' offense still has a lot to be desired. That's kind of the tale here. Baltimore ranks 4th in offensive DVOA, with Cleveland near the back of the pack at 28th. Deshaun Watson's been on and off the field. We know that. DTR's been in there. PJ Walker's been in there, so not a surprise there. Cleveland, 5th in rushing yards, but 29th in passing yards. That makes sense with what I just said. Just bottom of the barrel, and Deshaun Watson's, he still doesn't look right. I'm taking Baltimore on the back of more consistent offensive play. Also, this game being in Baltimore, and like you said, kind of record-setting defense in terms of efficiency, what they're doing so far in 2023. Also, Baltimore handled Cleveland. What was it in like week 3, like 28-3 or something like this? So famous last words, but I imagine, we're going to get something similar this week. Yeah. What's the question? What do we got?
Say the AFC championship game is in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Kansas City Chiefs are the 1 seed. Baltimore has to go there. Who are you picking to win the game?
In the current form of the Chiefs?
AFC champion. Not even current form, just AFC championship game. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens.
So healthy. Everybody's healthy. The defense, Lamar's healthy. Mahomes, sure. Kelsey, he improves. He's a little more mobile. I'd probably take the Ravens, honestly.
Against Patrick.
Is that surprising to you?
Against Patrick Mahomes. Is that surprising to you? At home in the AFC championship game.
Is that surprising to you?
No, I would pick Baltimore as well.
Yeah.
I would pick Baltimore as well.
Maybe a different version of the Chiefs offense. I would take that team because their defense is good. Not as good as Baltimore's. It's just the offense that kind of concerns me. Putting up points.
I wonder if some defenses or some offenses don't do as much as they normally should against Kansas City because they have the fear of Patrick Mahomes still. Like that's the only X factor that the Chiefs have is Patrick Mahomes. So like when it comes down to that, it's like, is Patrick Mahomes a Tom Brady type of guy, right? Where it's like, you ain't beating him at home in the playoffs, like, or anything like that. But
I'm sure it puts pressure on opposing teams for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
The reason I asked too is because you got Baltimore as plus 450 to win conference, and the Chiefs are minus 220 or something like that. Or plus 220 or 120. It's one of those. And then you also have Baltimore to win the Super Bowl at plus 900. So if they get to that point in the AFC playoffs, then, you could hedge out of it or something like that, or, play the other side to cover what you already spent. So, just an interesting thing. I think most people would be like, hey,
it's tough.
Lamar Jackson goes to Arrowhead and plays Patrick Mahomes in an AFC championship game. Who wins?
Mm-hmm.
If you're on the YouTube, put it in the comments and let us know what you think.
He makes it look so easy sometimes, but other times, the defense just has the team figured out. So that'd be a fun game to watch. And we're going to get, that or Baltimore, Cincinnati in the playoffs, maybe Buffalo, Miami. All the AFC is going to be that's going to be tough for any of those teams to get out. So it'll be a lot of fun for us as neutral fans watching these games. But let's move on now to the Sunday afternoon games. First one is Atlanta at Arizona. The Falcons, road favorites, minus 1.5, over-unders at 44. What you got?
Kyler Murray's back this week. That's fun.
He is.
I don't know what makes this 1.5 for Atlanta other than the fact that they seem to be incompetent at times. They have a player who averages 5.5 yards a touch, and then they have a player that
he's getting the ball all the time, right?
Yeah,
all the time, right?
There's a guy who averages 3.5 that gets a lot of more touches, because they don't want everybody to know. A lot of people think that the guy with 5.5 is going to get the ball all the time, especially near the goal line. So you don't want to do what they think you're going to do so that you could fool them. This has definitely worked for the Tennessee Titans over the years to, not give the ball to Derrick Henry down at the goal line, and it definitely worked for the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl not to give Marshawn Lynch the ball because everybody knew it was going to go there. It definitely works for anybody else that has a decent player on their team. Stephon Diggs is going to get the ball with the Buffalo Bills. Don't throw it to him at all the whole season because teams are going to expect that. I'm just going to take Atlanta. I don't gross, but I'll take Atlanta to win on the road. I think this is a good spot for them to just use Bijan a lot. Taylor Heineke played okay in their last game.
Yeah.
It wasn't terrible. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. And you're getting Kyle Pitts, and Drake London should be back for this game as well too. And Kyler Murray, he's been learning the offense, but he's only gotten a week's worth of reps with the team. So, what does that look like? I don't know. So, give me Atlanta to win on the road at Arizona.
Yeah, the usage thing, that's so strange. It's like, does Arthur Smith go home and talk to his wife, or I don't know if he's married, significant other, and, brag about playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers, but no one knows how to play chess anyway, so he's just out there the only one doing it. I don't know what the deal is with that, but there's like a 5-minute video of him at a press conference defending his actions, and he mentioned some of the things Nate was talking about. Don't watch it. Save yourself the 5 minutes. Do something more productive. Arizona, for this matchup, though, their center, the guard, even tackle DJ Humphries, they've all been DNPs all week. Probably not great for a team rolling out their franchise quarterback coming off an ACL tear. I'm not doing this with an ounce of confidence, but I'm going out on a limb here, Nate, and I'm predicting, much as you are, Bijan Robinson to get 15 to 20 touches, simply because Arthur Smith doesn't want to answer to what happens if he doesn't do that. Not because Arthur Smith, thinks that that's the right thing to do. So also taking the Falcons, this is a terrible idea again. Terrible idea. Let's just move on from that dumpster fire. Let's talk about, this is a better one. This is Detroit at the Chargers. Lions, road favorites. They get a field goal. Over unders high. One of the highest on the week at 48.5. What you got?
I don't think that the Los Angeles Chargers are a good football team.
Preface that, okay.
The Detroit Lions beat up on bad football teams. They lose to good football teams. They are the Miami Dolphins of the NFC. With that being said, I don't think the Los Angeles Chargers are a bad football team. I think they're an okay football team that doesn't put them in the bad column.
Yeah.
The only issue I have with it is Justin Herbert's finger, and he can't throw the ball deep in this offense. We saw Jalen Guyton get in the game, got missed on a couple shots. But with that being said, the finger has allowed Austin Eckler to catch passes out of the backfield. They can't run the ball.
A lot of dump offs.
They can't run the ball. The Los Angeles Chargers, the Detroit Lions stuff the run. So what's going to happen here? Justin Herbert's going to throw 45 passes in this game, maybe 50 passes in this game with the bad finger. And somehow the Los Angeles Chargers are going to win this game because they stink, but they aren't going to end up with the high draft pick. And for some reason, we're going to end up with Brandon Staley being the head coach of this team next year because you know what? They had the excuses. Mike Williams got hurt again. Justin Herbert's finger, right? Look, the defense is playing better. The defense isn't really playing that much better, to be honest. They're just playing against teams without offensive lines. The Lions coming off the bye, I think, does help. The Chargers coming off the Monday night game, so a little bit shorter of a week there. But they're at home. Detroit, you got Goff going back to L.A.
Yeah, baby.
You know, maybe he wants to show something off or something like that. But I'm going to take the Chargers to win. It doesn't make sense, but it also doesn't make sense for the Detroit Lions to be 3-point favorites because of what? Like they beat up a bunch of bad teams. I don't think that they're that good. And if Minnesota wins on Sunday, it just makes for a great story. Minnesota wins. They got Josh Dobbs as their quarterback. By the way, they're going to end up having Justin Jefferson coming back soon. They're going to have KJ Osborne coming back soon. The defense is playing better. Pressure's on the Lions. And instead of saying, you know, the brand new Lions like they do on the Pat McAfee show, you're going to say the same old Lions when they don't win the division. And I really need this because I have a Minnesota Vikings to win the division future. And I think that they can do it because I think they could split with Detroit and hope that Detroit loses another game and they go up half a game. And they go up one game after the bye. So I take the Los Angeles Chargers to win at home. Just feels like a team who's going to win games that they shouldn't. And Detroit is a team that is going to lose games that they shouldn't. So there.
Yeah, feels like we're playing a game of Among Us here. We got a couple imposters. That's what the Lions and the Chargers feel like to this point.
Except David Montgomery's
at least in my opinion. Back. But Lions are top 5 in offensive efficiency and 8th in. I'm getting there. Lions 5th in offense, 8th in defensive efficiency. I like Detroit's defense. They're 10th against the pass, 2nd against the rush. Nate mentioned they bottle up the run game. That's a fact. They got the stats, data points to prove it. Meanwhile, the Chargers, you got to scroll down a bit to find them in this metric. They're 23rd in defensive DVOA, giving up the 3rd most passing yards to this point. Pass defense isn't great. They're not doing what they're supposed to. Detroit also coming off a bye. Nate mentioned that. Healthy David Montgomery, extra week to prepare for the Chargers. This is probably a good test for both teams, kind of a good measuring stick to see where they're at after, you know, some success this season. But I'm taking the healthier team, taking Jared Goff coming back home to SoFi to watch the sun rises in the Pacific Ocean. I'm going with Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson, better coaches, coordinators there, taking the Lions. So I think this is our 5th game we're on opposing ends of. So lots of variance here for us. Would you believe me if I told you I have a Jared Goff jersey in the mail, a black one, Black Lions?
Shut up, you do. I would not. No. I would not believe you. I definitely wouldn't believe you. Herbert prop over 35.5 passing attempts is also a play. So I like that. So
okay,
shop it around. You might be able to find like a 110 somewhere. Like MGM has a lot of more 110s on their props, while DraftKings has fucking player props at 120, which is robbery. It's freaking robbery.
Yeah, I don't like that. Moving on now to NFC East battle. This is the Giants at the Cowboys. Dallas is favored by a whopping 16.5. I'm saying that. We recorded these notes yesterday. That's up to at least 17 or something today. Probably going to be like 18 or 19 by the time kickoff comes around. Over-unders, it's low. It's at 38.5. Dallas is probably scoring 35 of those, Nate. What you
got? Dallas. I don't know what else to say besides Dallas. You got
let's just move on. Let's move on.
Tommy DeVito, like the guy should be over here rolling up pastas in fucking Sicily.
Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, I don't even know if he's Sicilian or nothing like that, but he needs to be out on the shore, you know, or something like that. He's a Jersey kid, so a Hoboken guy, which is kind of close to where they play. But yeah, Dallas is going to win this game by like 30-something points. I laid the 17 this morning, so
That's Jesus, man.
yeah, I am. Yeah, that's just what it is. I don't. Yeah,
That's fair. DeVito's starting. Dayball's seat probably getting a little warm as things for New York hasn't probably gone to plan. I've got Dallas in this, and I did tease it down, but there's a strong chance that they cover whatever the hell it gets to by Sunday. So, yeah, also taking the Cowboys. Let's move on now. Washington at Seattle. The Seahawks are at home, favored by 6.5, over-under. It's pretty high. It's at 45.5. What you got?
this is another one where it wouldn't surprise me if Washington beat Seattle. Seattle has a great run defense, but they can't stop the pass. All right. They're just worse against the pass. Geno Smith is kind of showing us that is Derek Anderson and not Geno Smith from the first 9 weeks of last week. He came out, guns blazing early in the season as well. But I think that Seattle ends up winning this ball game. You got good wide receivers on the other end. Even as bad as Geno's plays, Washington plays even worse in the secondary. This is going to tie into my best bet later on as well, but I'll take Seattle to win this ball game at home. That's a long trip for Washington. I get that the game's later and it's different going from the East Coast to the West Coast when it comes to timing and all that kind of stuff, but essentially it's like a primetime style game as far as the time frame that you're going to play and what your body clock is used to on the West Coast. But Washington's one-dimensional, and I'll take Seattle to win it, but I don't like it.
Yeah, that's the theme of this week. Don't like a lot of these picks. Somehow Sam Howell is second in the league in passing yards. Does anyone know how that happened? I have thoughts. Their defense, it's horrible. I think you mentioned that. They've let up 30-plus points in 5 games this season. They rank 29th in efficiency on that side of the ball. So Sam Howell has had to throw for a ton of yards. Seattle isn't an elite defense for sure, but they're well coached and, they have decent talent at each level on defense. I like Seattle to get back on track at home. I'm taking the Seahawks. This is another uneasy one. I can see the Commanders, pulling the upset on the road though, but give me the Seahawks for this one. Mm-hmm. Moving on to our primetime games now. Sunday Night Football. We get the Jets. Again, there are so many New York primetime matchups this season. Mm-hmm. A lot for the Giants, quite a few for the Jets. But this is the Jets at Las Vegas. Jets are favored on the road by 1 point. Over-under's low. It's at 36. What you got? Do it.
I'm picking the Jets. Raiders are on a high. They had a good week. But how do they react and how do they bounce back when they get punched in the face? And I think they can get punched in the face by defense, and they have a rookie quarterback. Their defense in Las Vegas is not that great. I get that removing somebody that's so toxic out of your locker room or you guys perceive as toxic or whatever it may be, a cancer, can just uplift people. But I don't think that that could work for a day. It doesn't work over the long haul when your coaching staff and your player talent is what it is, right? Yep. Zach Wilson, like we brought up earlier, plays okay, holds on to the ball a little too long. He holds the ball in the wrong position. He holds it down near his waist when he's in the pocket. Hopefully they can fix that this week because Max Crosby's that's all the Raiders are going to do is swipe down at the ball and try to get fumbles while he's in the pocket. Yeah. So if you can hold the ball up a little bit, 2 hands until he's going to release it or something like that, then I think that the Jets end up winning this ball game. The Raiders' best weapon is Josh Jacobs. Sorry, Devontae Adams, but the team needs Josh Jacobs more than they need Devontae Adams. We're seeing Jacoby Myers eat up the middle of the field. Granted, that's not where Devontae Adams runs his routes or anything like that, but that's where the offense flows. And I think that the Jets end up stopping all of that, and they win on the road in Las Vegas, Sunday Night Football. I take the Jets, and it's going to be a bloodbath.
All right. Raiders played, very inspired football, but it was against a hapless Giants team last week. Basically a team headed towards a top 3 or 4 pick. This week they get a serious defense and a Jets team that wants to run the ball. That's a problem because Las Vegas has allowed the most rushing yards and ranks 20th in defensive efficiency. Give me the Jets and give me Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball around pregame for I don't know what reason. I don't know who that's for. That's probably more for Aaron than it is for anyone else, right? Yep. It has to be. Yep. a narcissist type thing. I saw some people talking about on Twitter, but that was like the theme of what people were answering as far as why. Moving on now, this final game. This is the Monday night game, Denver at Buffalo. We've got the Bills favored by 7.5 at home, over under second highest on the week at 47. What you got?
Yeah, I think I'm going to do like a round robin with all these underdogs and hope that 2 of them hit, because I think that Denver can win in Buffalo as well.
Oh, shit.
Denver's playing pretty decent football. Like, the offense can still move it. They got Javonte Williams in the mix a lot more. He's been gradually just getting more and more work, and then we're starting to see that kind of come to fruition. They're coming off the bye week. Buffalo struggled, and got smacked around by Cincinnati. Josh Allen, as bad as it looks, he's statistically the best quarterback in the NFL when it comes to like actual quarterback metrics that aren't like yards and touch, like what you see in a box score, right? Everything else he's doing is the best in the league. You talk to any like analytic nerd or anything like that. What he does on the field and how important he is to the team is more than anybody else out there. Like, if you didn't look at record of the team, he would be the favorite to win MVP. If they had more wins, he would be the favorite to win MVP just based off his body of work, right? But Denver's defense seems to be coming along a little bit there, and their offense is coming along a little bit there. They're starting to get into that little groove. I think they can go on a run, but I think they're going to lose this ball game on Monday Night Football. The Bills can afford to lose a game as they're trying to compete for the division and compete for one of those final wild card spots as well, depending on whichever one they go. The division's still right there for them to grab. I think they're a game and a half down from Miami. So it's not like they don't have a shot to win the division when Miami's got to play, the rest of the division as well. Like, they seem to fold against decent teams. But Buffalo got to go through a gauntlet here too in the next couple weeks. So I'll take Buffalo to win it at home. I think the environment is too much for Denver to handle.
Yeah, Broncos, they've looked pretty decent, definitely improved these last few weeks. Buffalo, though, they're in a win now scenario with the pieces and like the contracts they have, and they need this win. They're behind 3 AFC North teams for a wild card spot right now as it stands, and they can't keep dropping games to teams they should beat the brakes off of. The rest of their schedule is also tough. They have to play the Jets next week, Philly, Kansas City, Dallas, the Chargers I'm going to throw in there, and they end it at Miami. That could be for the division. Like I said, they need this win. I'm taking Buffalo to play to their potential. You mentioned Josh Allen's been playing just fine. I expect to see that in prime time here. I expect the Bills to play with a sense of urgency, and I expect them to get the win at home against Denver.
It's cool that this game's on Monday Night Football, but because you'll be able to see it, but just watch, like in the middle of a game, there's just times where you look at Josh Allen's face and his eyes, and it's like he just got teleported from like he quantum leaped from somewhere else, and then he's like in a helmet, like, oh, where am I at? Like his eyes and it's just the wildest thing that goes on, especially in like close games or something like that. But look for the quantum leap -600 for Josh Allen Monday Night Football against the Denver Broncos.
Parlay that with Aaron Rodgers throwing pregame for no reason. Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers over 55-yard pregame throw.
Oh, God. So on the week, to get to 1 unit of profit for each pick, we ended up wagering 35.9 for me and then about 30.5 for Nate. Moving on now to our best bets on the season. I mentioned this in the recap, but I am 5-4 so far. Okay, and Nate, you're 6-3. Very good. What you looking at for this week?
Yep. I'm going to go back to Sam Howell. And I'm going to go the over 36.5 passing attempts. You can get it -110 at MGM. Don't do the 120 or 130 you can get on FanDuel and DraftKings. And just go make an MGM account. Get the better number. Like, you shouldn't be laying that much juice. But reason being, we got the 6-point dog. They're expected to trail in this game, right? He's cleared 40 passing attempts in 5 of his last 6 games and 6 of his last 8 games, and Seattle is a top 5. It's top 5 in lowest rush success rate, and Washington doesn't really run the ball that much anyways, and Washington is tops of the league in the passing rate. The problem with Sam Howell, the only way I think that this doesn't hit, it hit near halftime last week. He was at like 29 passing attempts. And like 4 minutes into the third quarter, he had hit this over. But the problem with Sam Howell, right, is he could have way more passing yards. He could be way better of a quarterback if he wouldn't hold on to the damn ball for 6 or 7 seconds, because he's also sacked more than anybody in the NFL, which is crazy. He keeps losing yards, but he keeps passing for more and making up for it. So Sam Howell, over 36.5 passing attempts. I think this clears in the third quarter. Like right before the fourth quarter bell hits, or right after first drive in the fourth quarter, it's done. The only way it doesn't is if Seattle somehow ends up like bleeding clock by running the ball, but that's not the way to attack the Washington defense. So you attack them through the air. I think there's a lot of points in this game.
I dig that one. I'll probably take that one as well. Teaser for me, or I'm sorry, best bet for me is another teaser. I've got Baltimore and Seattle. That gets both of those games down to minus 0.5, so they're both 6.5 point favorites. I have both of them winning, and this teaser gets us down to just that, a win for both teams. Again, Seattle gets the Commanders at home, and then Baltimore has the Browns at home. Go up, listen if you didn't to our reasons why, but basically for all of those reasons. This is also minus 120 at DraftKings, or it was when I placed it a few minutes ago. Should be that if you're looking when this posts on Friday or Saturday.
DraftKings has like the best line number on an online book for teasers. So that's where you should be doing your teasers at.
Absolutely. All right, Nate, closing thoughts before we wrap it up.
Teasing down to a team just to win on a pick. What else can go wrong, Tony? What else could go wrong? No.
Knocking on some wood here.
I think it's going to be a fun week. I think there's going to be one or two of these teams that are over 6.5 point favorites that end up losing games this week. I'm putting my money on the Houston Texans to do it. So wish everybody luck. Win your bets. Pray for my bets because I have 2 kids and I raise them by myself. And Christmas is coming up. Kid's got a birthday in December too. I need this week. So, yep.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you guys once again for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, please hook us up with a subscribe or, follow across any of the socials or podcast platforms you're listening to. We appreciate you guys following along. We'll return with the Week 10 recap next week and the preview for the Week 11 matchups a few days after that. What are you laughing at?
I don't know. Just making faces and stuff like that. So
wasn't even paying attention. All right, guys. Until then, love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.